right into it. First, I just want to say congratulations on a whole decade at PCS. You've just had such amazing work, and I can't believe it's been 10 years. What does this, milestone feel like for you?
Well, it went so quick. I mean, 10 years. I mean, actually, it is a little more difficult to set crisscross applesauce in my chair now than it was when I first started. But but it's been great. I mean, it's been a great 10 years. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome. Yeah, great. So before Party Center Software, talk to me a little bit about what you were doing before and how you initially got introduced to the family entertainment industry.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was selling I was selling cable TV commercials. Okay. And then I was approached to help this entrepreneur, like to open a FEC, a Family Entertainment Center. And I was like, gosh, that sounds like fun. You know what I'm saying? So the title that he gave me was Director of Marketing and Events. And I thought, oh, that's going to be fun. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't even the beginning of it. I mean, it was like that was just a tip of the iceberg of what I was going to do. So, because we did everything from the ground up. So, we had to have the brand, we had to come up with the logo, had to come up with the colors, the the party packages, the team building, because we wanted the corporate people, and just the whole thing. And we wanted to start from the beginning, it to look like a franchise, right? Because we wanted to have that belief, And it was so funny because I was looking through my desk and I put together this book because I helped get the investors, right? And so the very first location was 55,000 square feet, and it was in a strip center. In a strip center, it was an old Kroger, so we had to demolish it. So we had to do it from the ground up. So that's where I had everything catered, and we had like a whole layout of what the place was going to look like. And so I invited all these doctors and all these people from the area to come so we could get investors. And I had a book made. I mean, it was like a huge book, and it had everything possible that they could want to know, And we had these cards because we were a team. So we had these business cards, like players, people have,
Mm-hmm.
and it had pictures of us, and then on the back it had our stats, I'm saying, of what we've done, and it was just crazy. So it was so much fun, but so much work. And then the first location was in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went and did one close to Nashville, which was a whole nother ball game because we had to get, over 120 employees, at each location. So we did this huge um like drive for talent. And and so we had all these people wrapped around, because that one was in a mall. So they had to move like 15 stores to get us put in there, because that one was 65,000 square feet, had two bars, huge stage, because we had live music too. But that was so funny because we had all these people wanting a job that were wrapped around the whole entire building.
Oh, wow.
So one of my things that I did, because I thought, how are we going to get through all these really, really quick? So I had like a clipboard, and I had like certain colors of stickers, right? And so I had all the tables marked, here's the front of the house, here's servers, here's my party staff. I had all these different tables in the party rooms. So I was going and asking just open-ended questions to get their personality. So as soon as I saw they were a party, they got a pink sticker. They got if they were back of the house, they got maybe a blue sticker. So they all had stickers as they were coming in, and then they put them in the room that coordinated with their stickers. And I was like, yes, we're going to get this done. So we hired so many people. But I think the industry itself is, you really have to think outside of the box. It's a fun industry, and you're selling memories. So why, that's definitely worth, why it makes it so fun.
Yeah.
But I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, definitely. That's like one thing I love about you, Eileen, is you're so inventive, and that story just like perfectly encapsulates who you are. And I love that story. So that's amazing. And I'm glad that, you got to be there for building that from the ground up. So that's amazing. What was your experience like as an FEC operator, and what did a typical day look like for you back then?
Okay, so that's another great question. So it would depend. During the week was totally different than the weekends. I mean, because our goal was to have, probably 25 to 30 parties every Saturday. So on a Saturday, saying we would, we'd get the whole team together. We'd like look at all the parties. We'd make sure that if there was any parties that was going to be maybe need a little bit of extra love, that we, put the correct host on it, because you can't have, when you got that many parties, the first party of the day has to be perfect, because if something goes wrong with that one, then it's a domino effect. So you really have to have your P's and Q's together. Now, the thing too that and I might be jumping ahead, but the thing too that happened was when we first opened, I do want to say I made a mistake. I, we opened, we had a point of sale, we had, a redemption software, we had embed, we had, but we didn't have a party booking software. Now, is that not crazy? So I thought, oh, we're going to be able to do this on a calendar and with a spreadsheet, and it's going to be okay. Well, I was an hour away. I had to drive in every day, an hour. And so I'm driving in early that morning. I pull into the parking lot, and I've probably told this story a couple of times because it's a story that people can relate to. So I drive into the parking lot. There sits two or three school buses, and I'm like, I don't have any party staff on today. I did not realize that we had a field trip. So I had to go into the 55,000 square feet and pretend like I knew that they were supposed to be there. And then I had to get my gamers to like do it, not my party host. So I had 100 students over here in the play area with the arcade and all that and all the play. And then I had 100 students over in the bowling, all bowling. Then I had to go to the kitchen and talk to the chef and say, hey, I think I'm going to need about 20 pizzas. You know what I'm saying? So it was quite the ordeal. And then I found out, they said, well, Miss Eileen, you put a sticky note on your desk that they were coming. And I'm like, so so my next call, as you could imagine, was was to Scott Drummond, who was Party Center Software, because I had met him at a trade show. And the thing that I loved about Scott and the Party Center Software team was they were very down to earth. I liked them. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's so important when you're like, yes, what the software will do and what, and all that, that is important. But if you're going to deal with somebody on a daily basis or even a weekly basis, you really should pick somebody that you like.
Hmm.
So I gave Scott a call, explained the problem, and he helped me get onboarded, and we didn't have any oops like that ever again. So it was perfect.
Awesome. Great. That's awesome. I love that. That kind of, you did kind of answer my next question, but how did you, so, you go from this transition to working with Party Center software. So how did Party Center software come into the picture in terms of you, joining our team, and what really made you decide to make this transition?
Yeah. So I mean, so the locations that I was working at opened in 2008. Okay. And they were open until 2015. It was a crazy story because every morning I would check my Facebook or I'd check the website, and I'd make sure I'd do all the notes and, everything that I needed to do, reply back and make sure everything was good. And I was running a competition on the Facebook, a really cool competition, which if anybody wants to talk about competitions or whatever, just give me a call. We can brainstorm. But we was running this really cool competition and it was down and my website was down. And I was like, so I called in to where I was working and they said, oh, well, yeah, the government has closed us. So obviously one of the tasks on my list was not to pay our taxes. That was not my job. So somebody didn't do that, right? And so therefore I was out of a job. And I was like, oh my gosh, but I love this industry. And I love, helping people with their parties and helping people be successful and coming up with creative ideas and you know, what am I going to do? Right. So so that's when I called my buddy Scott and I said, hey, do you do you have a position for this old gal? I think is what I call myself because I'm much older now, but anyway, but and it was so funny because he's like, gosh, I don't know. Let me look, and then he finally sent me an email and it was in the support department. Okay. So I started in our support department. And it was so funny because you could still probably go back and look at my emails that I was sending. So our support team is wonderful. I mean, I love them. They're very technical and they're wonderful. But my emails coming out of support was pretty fluffy and had like emojis and had and had like little, I mean it was way fluffy. I mean, I gave them the answer and I told them how to do it because I knew, because I'd used the software for at that point probably 7 years, right? So I knew all the answers, I knew what the software could do, and I gave them those answers, but I was also really really fluffy. So what happened was Scott was like, "Oh gosh, maybe we don't have her in the right seat on the bus. Let's put her somewhere else." So then I got to go start, and I was the customer success team, okay,
Hmm.
for a long time by myself until I had other wonderful employees with me. You know what I'm saying? So then all my emails needed to be fluffy, right? so so that's my role. So I went from support to customer success, and I did that for a really long time, and then I went to the sales department. So it's been fun, definitely.
That's great. Yeah, I love hearing how your role kind of evolved over time. So that's awesome. I just have one more question for you. So after 10 years at PCS and, even more time in the industry, what still excites you about working at PCS and the industry in general?
I think what is really the coolest is watching people's dreams. I'm saying they have this dream. They're like, oh, the community needs this, and we're going to open it, and we're going to be successful. And once they start booking those first parties, and they get through that first week, that first month, I'm saying, they're learning so much, and it's so fun to watch it happen. I'm saying, because then it's like, oh, this is really true. This is we're open, we're doing good, the software's working right, and then they start doing some marketing, and it's just the whole thing of making the dreams come, happen is probably one of the best things, of the whole industry.
That's great. And, you know, in terms of working at PCS, what still excites you about working with us, or just any, happy memories you want to share, or anything like that over the past 10 years?
Well, I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with some of the best people, and some of them have moved on to different positions, and some of them have moved on, to different, um, you know, careers. But it's so fun to watch. The thing that I say that probably all of the people that I've worked with, they've all been very customer centric, where they really want to give 110% on customer care. And I think that's rare. But that is kind of what stands, that's what stands makes you stand apart from from anybody else in the industry. And when you open a facility, you need to keep that in mind, because there's tons of places that people can go to. But if they feel valued and feel cared for when they come to your facility, they're going to come to your facility. So you got to keep that in mind. Be unique. Always give that customer care. And I think that was probably one of the things that I loved the most about Party Center software in general, was it allowed me and our team to give great customer care.
Amazing. Great. Well, for me and, your customers, our customers, everyone else at PCS, we're so glad to have you on the team, and thank you for all of your hard work over the past 10 years, and congratulations.